Survivor's ready. If anybody has a hidden immunity idol and you want to play it, now would be the time to do so.
The queen stays queen.
You said rustle feathers.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to calamity. We have ripe bananas all the time.
Dude, my prize isn't even $1 million. My prize was that I fell in love in this game. Love at first sight. Her name is Candace.
You officially go down as the dumbest survivor ever.
Welcome to Not Game, All Personal. Hey, we are a Survivor podcast here to talk about all things Survivor, more specifically the events of this week. I'm Nathan. This is Tony. Tony, we have officially made it to the merge at the end of this episode. Let me clarify, but we made it. We're here now.
I think I'm on board with you. I'm mad about this. I'm so much more mad about this than I was about the other setup. I'm so much more furious. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I am so glad you're starting this one. I wanted to be a good boy this season. In fact, I think last season,
Don't say it like
maybe
that.
even the past two
I want
seasons,
to be a good boy.
I think I behaved myself. I feel like I've gone at least 2 seasons without making a fuss about it, right?
Unless I poked you with like with a stick.
For
Then you did a little
sure.
bit.
But I got over it. But we are now at the point where, okay, so let me just clarify, right? Historically, in the new era, we would get down to this point where there's 13 players. They split off into 2 teams, not tribes, teams, right? Where they're not in tribes, they're not merged. But half of them will be safe. All of them will get to vote. Actually, I think more than half because there's the random person in the middle. So 7 out of the 13 will be safe. 6 will not be. Everyone gets to vote, right? That is not the merge.
Mhm.
So Jeff decides to add a little twist this season. Instead of
A little
that,
twisty twist.
nobody is safe except for one person. One
The
person
person
gets
who won an individual immunity challenge, it seems.
exactly. One person gets immunity. Everyone else is on the table to get eliminated. But we're not merged. Did I get that right?
Yeah, not merged, even though they're very much merged.
Yes.
I guess it
I
was
feel
more
like
difficult to get individual immunity, maybe.
everyone is gonna, like, how can you not be on my side at this point, right? Like, I sure, this semantics,
Hey,
I
whoa,
get
whoa,
it,
whoa,
like,
whoa.
that's what I've been fighting for, but
This is completely different than past years.
well, that's what I'm
coming
saying.
to your
That's
side on this
yes,
specific
yes.
issue. Okay, I just want to be clear.
Yes, I understand that this is different, okay? Instead of 7 people safe, there's only 1 person. I get that. I was arguing a game of semantics here, but at this point, they're just so full of themselves in trying to redefine these definitions. I feel like I'm going crazy, and I feel like Jeff is just listening to me. And what are we going to do? Like, are we not going to be merged into, like, the final 5 or something at this point?
I told you this before we started recording, but I think it's really funny to bring up now. I have a couple friends that I just finished season 40 with them. They're just starting season 41. And I just realized I'm going to have to listen to this same frustration. I'm sure of it. I'm sure they're going to be so furious about this. After a couple seasons, they're going to be like, they're not merged. Like, what's happening here? Like, it's so confusing.
Yeah.
Especially once you get to this, like, it just doesn't. It's just they're the creators of Survivor. They're allowed to do whatever they want with their definitions. Genuinely, like, that's my stance. But
Sure.
why would you change the meaning of words that we've had since the beginning of Survivor just for a stupid little semantics game of like, oh yeah, we split you into 2 tribes and only half of you got to compete. And then the winning half had to eat their entire merge feast just covered in mud. They didn't let them like wash off at all. I thought that was a crazy move as well. They're just simply, except for
Yeah.
Mary, dynamite move on the through the mud for Mary. I have to give her flowers. I have to be honest, dynamite move. But yeah, just watching them sit there just covered in mud and eat, like, enjoying this food. It's like, man, that's got to be miserable. Like, yes, you're eating food, but you're also eating half the mud that's on your hands.
Well, I feel like I've made this point on a previous season. I can't remember which one, but like, I do not enjoy watching the challenges with them in mud only because I cannot tell who is who. Like, I genuinely can't. And
Yeah,
maybe
that's
that's just
fair.
a me problem, but like when I'm watching them all doing the individual portion, I'm like trying to make out who has what body type because like you can't tell any other way. I'm just like, oh, that tall person is probably Kyle, right? And then like everyone
Mhm.
else, I'm just kind of guessing.
Mhm.
Chrissy, I didn't know who she was. I'm like not even kidding. Like I was like, who is that? And I was like, oh, that's right, that's Chrissy. But like I don't know Chrissy well enough to be able to identify her in mud. So it's like this is just not good television. It's simply not because I cannot follow who is doing what.
Counterpoint. I think it's worth it just because of the shots of them in the ocean with just the big cloud of mud around them. That would feel so good to be caked in like hardened like dirt at that point and to just get in the ocean and just watch it just like dissipate off of you
That is a
would
horrible
be
counterpoint. That is
so good. No, Nathan, tell me you wouldn't love that.
okay,
I submit to
sure.
you, I would gladly jump in a pit. I just showered. Would gladly jump in a pit of mud right now
Uh-huh.
if it meant that I got to soak in a body of water like a lake or something and just watch it like see like come off of me. It would be so good.
I Your argument is that it feels good for the players.
No,
That's a
it looks good too. It does something for me. I'm not gonna lie. It
we
looks
can't
good.
That's such a dumb argument. I
You're
don't
a
have the patience
dumb
for this
argument.
tonight.
I came to your side today. Don't tell me I'm a dumb argument.
Oh my goodness. But yes, I think and going back to we'll try to wrap this up because I understand we get on this every single season, but I think the part that especially irritates me this time around is like Jeff continues to try to overemphasize the fact that they're not merged. Like I just
Mhm.
just let it go. But he wants everyone to know like you are not merged. You have to earn it. Like I think that's what makes me so mad is he cares so much about it. And then and we've gone through this before, especially when it comes to like the idols and the votes and all this stuff. It gets to a point where there is twist upon twist upon twist that all you're doing is canceling the previous twists and calling that a twist. That's all this is. Before the new era, there wasn't this split off into two teams and do whatever, you know? But like Jeff is calling this a twist when all he's doing is taking away the team aspect and the fact that half of them were safe. Right? Like we're doing is doing what Survivor did for 40 seasons and calling it a brand new twist. And I think that's what irritates me. It's like, oh, just admit that like the team thing maybe didn't work out and you kind of want to try it this way. You can do whatever you want. You can call it whatever you want, but like this isn't new. This concept of one person winning immunity is not a new idea.
You're right. I don't disagree with you, but I think there is something too for 7 seasons now. It's been one way, and you're shifting it back. It would be like if in Big Brother they were just like, "Hey, this season the twist is we're not doing a power of veto." That that would just be going back to what they did for season 2. You know what I mean? Like it would just be reverting back to old rules, but that would be a big twist because they've come to expect it. It's been a standard of the game for X amount of years. Um, that said, like I'm not going to stand firm on that take. Like I think it
No,
is a little bit different.
that's a fair point.
I would
I
love
can agree with
to.
that.
I would. I have never listened to Jeff's podcast. If he says something big, usually my nephew will tell me about it the next day. He usually calls me on Fridays and we talk
the big
Survivor.
stuff leaks its way into my
Yeah,
newsfeed, so I'm not concerned.
shout out Trent. Um, but I almost want to listen and be like, I almost want to ask Jeff, like, what is this? Like, what does this mean? Why are you so obsessed with it? And I think it would, if I had to guess, it would boil down to this idea of earning the merge. I think is super valuable to him. But when earning the merge is just surviving a standard survivor vote, I don't think it's anything special. Like before, at least it was something unique and something that we usually didn't see, and they had to earn it as a group. Like that's something. But yeah, this is just a normal survivor vote, and yeah, half the
Here,
people didn't get to compete for immunity, but that's how it
yeah.
goes.
I have two theories. One is one that I have expressed multiple times, so I don't want to spend too. But like, I think Jeff is just obsessed with this smaller tribal format, which doesn't doesn't justify the twist this season, but like previous years when it's like split into like two, like only 6 people are eligible to be voted out. Um, we've talked about how I think Jeff just loves that because next week it was hinted at in the next time on Survivor that they're going to split off into 2 teams again and have 2 separate tribal councils, which is something they always do in the new era now.
And I don't hate that. I don't know where you stand on that, but you can
Sure,
continue with your point.
we can get to that, but I think Jeff is just obsessed with this smaller like uh amount of people that are eligible to be voted out, which is why we have yet to see larger tribes in the new era. It's always 3 tribes of 6. Why even 2 weeks into the merge and Mergatory, we're still seeing only 6 people eligible, you know? So I think that's definitely part of it is
Mm-hmm.
they just love the idea of like, oh man, how many different ways can a 6-person tribal council go? The other part that I'm curious about is does earning the merge is part of that does Jeff want to like require you to go to tribal council at least once? Because I think this new era especially practically every season. In fact, I'd be curious like how many it's definitely more seasons than not. There is a tribe that gets to the Mergatory never having been to tribal council, at least a couple of them, right?
Yeah.
Even in this season where they did a tribe swap pretty early on, earlier than previous New Era seasons, and there's still, I think, were 4 people, or yeah, 4 people that never went to tribal council. So I wonder if that's part of it because in older seasons of Survivor, that was usually not the case. There was usually a little more back and forth, especially with 2 tribes, but even with 3, there were very
Mm-hmm.
few seasons where you would have an entire tribe and never go to tribal council. And in this new era, it feels like every single season it's like, okay, which one is it? Which one is the,
Mm-hmm.
the token tribe that won't go? So I wonder if that's part of it that they're just not saying out loud. Because if that's the case, and if they would explain it that way, I actually think I'd be more on board with it. If they're just like, yeah, we want to make sure everyone goes to tribal council at least once before they quote unquote earn the merge.
Yeah, and I actually I don't hate that at all. I think that would makes a lot of sense, and I do think Jeff I think Jeff thinks, and I think he said 5 to 6 people to him is like the perfect amount of people at a tribal council.
Yeah.
I I don't disagree, but I think there's value to like I think 9 person a 4-3-2 vote is my favorite vote in all of Survivor. A good 4-3-2 where like people are gonna split a vote and then somebody just like Tony does in season 40. Like it's so good. That's my favorite. Anyways, got sidetracked on me because I'm selfish. Um, but I do like the idea that everybody has to go to tribal. But what I would say is they don't do tribe swaps. But if you swap to 2 tribes and made it so no matter what, both you had a double elimination or a triple elimination would seem extreme. So that's probably not the best option. But forcing them to go to a tribal like that would be interesting. Even if it was like a double tribal, and then I just said that they did this on Australian Survivor once, a double tribal, and then those 2 people do fire or something to try to earn their way, like stay in the game. That would be interesting, but doing a challenge where half the people are safe doesn't feel. I guess winning the challenge is earning their way in, but and going to tribal in general, I don't know. There's some good thoughts in there. That's probably part of it. I don't love it. Final answer.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, the other part that I kind of halfway brought up, you said you like, which is fine, but like the next week, heavily hinted that they're going to split off into 2 teams, right, after being merged. This is 100%. I know we talked about this, and again, I cannot remember which season it was because all of these kind of blend together. But I've seen a lot of people point out that I think what that has done, at least for the players, knowing that that's coming the next week, has caused this week, this vote, to be more of a safe vote. Let's just kind of get through.
Yeah.
And I think that was on my mind while watching this episode, and I think that kind of caused this episode to be a little predictable and almost kind of boring because I think we saw Charity get voted out. That felt extremely obvious to me from the beginning, and then once I took into account the fact that like this is the safe move for a lot of people, to at least, because I think David even said it. He's like, we're not going to start the war yet. And I'm like, well, even if they're not acknowledging why, like that's got to be in the back of their mind, is like they need to keep at least some numbers, because who knows how the teams are going to split off next week. And so I don't think I hate splitting off, but the fact that everyone knows it's coming, and it feels like it's affecting the way that they vote this week. Like, I don't know, this whole episode I was just kind of like, yep, let's just get to it. Let's get Charity out of here, and let's just move on so we can finally start actually playing and see where, people actually have their alliances in.
Yeah, it almost feels like it would feel better to do that in like a couple weeks. Like do it when there's 10 people left, or mix it up. Do it at different times. Might help that feel better, and might force them to start playing the game a little bit. Yeah, it definitely delays. I feel like it stalls here every time. But then you do have interesting stuff like the Caleb vote was that vote for everybody, that he survived. So like the interesting stuff does happen, but it's definitely not a perfect system. You would like you would like there to be more variety, I think, over 8 seasons. I think that's the most frustrating thing, is it's been the same thing every time. And these things, when they're predictable, are less interesting. I think you said that, and I think that's a very fair point. When it's predictable, it's less interesting, because interesting is not in the like it's not something that you want when you're playing Survivor. You don't want interesting, you don't want twists, you don't want funky things. You want predictable, unless you're like Q or someone super chaotic. Like they're Tony. You want predictable and something that you can like follow to a T. And we just want a little bit of that mix up, I think.
Yeah.
Which they gave us, and we're mad about the semantics. But still, I'm still mad about those semantics.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I am not upset that they went back to everyone's on the table to be voted for. I'm mad that they won't call it what it is. That's the difference this time around.
Just
And
give everybody
then-
the feast. Like, why do they have to keep the feast? Or just make it a reward challenge. Like, hey, you're merged. Reward challenge. You get to eat food.
Yeah,
All right, let's do an individual immunity challenge.
sure.
Only the
Yep.
people who ate food got to be a part of that. Sure, if you want to do that, it's weird, but
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, no, it's very bizarre. And then forever, I think, like, anytime I try to look up, like, on Survivor Wiki or something, it always throws me off, because you look at that person that was voted out, and you're like, wait, they didn't make the merge? I was like, oh, how did they get voted out? It was like, oh yeah, they got voted out because 8 people voted for them, but they didn't make the merge. I don't know. It's just like it's the stupid little
But Nathan,
details
they didn't
that
earn it. You understand?
I know. I get it. Trust me, I get it. Okay, I think
Should we
that's
dig
enough
into
of
the
that.
actual players?
Let's talk about this. I mean, like we mentioned it. Charity went home.
Yep.
So I guess we can talk about her for a bit. I mean, I said I wasn't surprised. Did this surprise you at all, or did you kind
No.
of see this one coming for weeks now?
I thought Say was an interesting option, and she did get votes. So I wasn't like 100% sure that Charity was going home. Thought maybe something interesting like that would happen, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not surprising that it was Charity.
I certainly held my breath there. There was a split second while the votes were coming in. I was like, "Oh my goodness, did I just predict that next 3 booted?" Because I holding on that.
I was
Say wins
also
the
very
game.
much rooting for that.
But she didn't go. I think that was the moment where I was like, "Oh, is this just like a Rome situation? Like, is that how I read what the producers wanted us to see in her?" It wasn't. She clearly still has more to do, I suppose. But I don't understand these votes at all of who voted for who. It is because even like what was explained to us as far as like who potentially might be in an alliance, who's going to try to start something, like the votes don't exactly follow that. So I kind of am forfeiting any analysis on this for the time being, because I think we're just gonna have to wait and see. Other than like the only thing that makes sense is if every single person was in on this and then they just decided like to split the vote, and where like that's the only thing, because like I don't know. Are you looking at it now? Are you finding any sort of
Yeah.
pattern?
I mean, it's a lot of oh, not even.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's
You
a
can't do it.
weird
You can't do
split.
it.
Because I thought it was a lot of like the original Purple Tribe,
Mm-hmm.
but then Star's out of it, Joe's out of it. Ava and Joe voted differently, which is crazy.
So
David voted with
did
David, Mitch,
yeah. So like,
Shaheen, and Shaheen voted differently than Joe.
uh-huh.
Yeah, it
I mean,
must have been like a group split. It must have been.
honestly, like Joe. Actually, never mind. I was gonna say of this new alliance that we learned about of like the muscle, whatever you want to call it. I was gonna say Joe's the only one left out, but Kyle also voted for Charity. So the
Mm-hmm.
people that didn't vote for Charity were David, Eva, Mitch, Shaheen, and then Charity. So not a lot, but like the combination of Mitch, Shaheen, Joe, and or not Joe, sorry, Eva and David, like that doesn't there's no four-person anything with that crew, right? So like
No,
I don't know. I That's why I'm like I don't even think we can talk about this. I don't think we can analyze it because it does not follow anything that we saw in the episode.
no, that's stunning. I know Cedric was a wild. I mean, that was just to make sure if it was a 1-1 vote that she wouldn't just get sent out. I assume, but I thought that was
Yeah.
surprising that was even out there. But yeah, everything else, there's no.
Well, and then it came from Say as well. I'm like, oh, like that was your backup. Like if this is a tie, I'm just gonna have Cedric here too. Like I don't know. It's which I don't even know how that would work. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. What would the Cedric vote prevent?
If everybody went Charity, Charity played an idol, and voted for Say, then it would tie it up. Say won, Cedric won.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because she said something like, "Oh, I always hedge," or something to that extent.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's immediately I was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, you always want to make sure."
All right. Yeah. So bye Charity. Congrats on Say for surviving this
She
one.
she's just not handling the internet well, it seems,
Charity.
after her experience on Survivor. Yeah. Because there was the thing that we talked about the other week where she was like, "Oh, I'll
Mhm.
still be like loving and like root you on stuff," which I guess Ava took a shot in her confessional, which people do. Like that happens in confessionals. You can't really hold somebody to their confessionals, is my argument.
Sure.
So there's that, and then she said this week like, "Oh, everybody was too scared to go after Ava and be hated after the autism stuff," and it's like, yeah, maybe that's a good counteract for like, oh, she's a clear duo, and she's going to get targeted for that soon. Like
Mhm.
it's a positive and a negative result of that, but I mean, people kind of knew that. You probably didn't need to say it, Charity. I don't know. It's just, yeah,
I
that's how it
I
goes.
think
If I was in the game, that's how I'd feel.
yeah. I think the counter there is like just maybe don't target her right away, right?
Hmm.
Like if your assumption is like, oh, people might not vote for her because she just had this really emotional, impactful moment, well then like maybe don't be tossing her name out there. Which I don't think Charity really did that much. That was more Say, but I don't know. I think okay. I saw an interesting post on Reddit, and I don't really want to get too much into it because it's a tricky subject, right? But this was
Oh boy.
because Charity also had, I think it was in an interview where she was, I think, just a little surprised at her edit in the sense that she didn't really feel like she was that either gamey or backstabby. But I think the internet kind of has taken it like that. And again, I don't think she's helped her case. And this post was pointing out that uh, perhaps the edit especially emphasized Charity versus Eva, even if it maybe wasn't there. And then they also drew the comparison to Star, where Star pretty much like didn't have an edit, didn't have a story until she kind of made nice with Ava and like gave her an idol.
Yeah,
So
it's
I mean,
possible. I
I
mean,
think there
Ava's
could be
definitely gonna be the golden girl. Just like Jeff
yes,
loves everything that she's bringing. Like, it makes sense that that would be the narrative that they would push, and it would make the narrative good, like it satisfying, I guess.
right. And I don't want to be like, oh my goodness, she has autism, that's why she's getting a good edit. But I do wonder if there could be other reasoning for why she seems to be the center story of everyone else's edit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
like Joe especially, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we don't know that much about Joe. I think we saw some more when he was on the tribe of the four. I don't know which tribe that was, but when they got the reward, they're talking about their shared upbringing and whatnot. But like outside
Yeah.
of that, like his whole story is how he's there for her. And
Yeah.
so it is becoming fascinating how we now have like three separate cases of people's stories coming back to her, and
What
so
are you
like
saying, Nathan?
I'm not, I don't look at the edit, but
Looks
that's
like
all
we
I'm
didn't
saying.
pick a winner again. If that's what you're saying,
I'm
looks like we
not
didn't.
saying it. I'm not.
It's crazy that neither of us did.
Well, here's the thing. At the time, she couldn't have been a winner because she was going against Thomas and Bianca, who were clearly
True.
the two winners of this
Clearly.
season.
I know this is weeks ago, but I remember seeing like last week after Bianca got voted out, somebody tweeted, "I know that Thomas and Bianca just sat up and like taught like dish the tea for like hours and just talk trash about the cast." And Thomas responded and said, "You know it," like something like that. And I was like, "That's so good. It would be so fun to be a fly on the wall and just listen to him like just
Oh,
trashing everybody."
I want the two of them back so bad, but I don't
Me
know.
too.
I don't
Me too.
know.
More Thomas than Bianca, but
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with that.
that's my classic sexism.
I like that you're acknowledging it at this point. It's just
No,
not
you
even...
were going to,
I
and
was
so I'm just
not.
steering into the skid.
I was not. I don't know. Anything else on Charity's exit? That's all I got.
It includes Charity. My highlight of the episode
Yeah.
is when Charity saw the advantage, and then Say just came literally out of nowhere
Yes.
and just
Yep.
toasted her and got there before her. It genuinely. I watched the clip many times, Nathan.
I did too.
I
did too.
don't.
Yep. Where
I
was
guess
she
like when the
hiding?
camera pans that she comes out of nowhere and is suddenly and she's wearing green, so that doesn't
Yeah,
help.
no,
You can't
it
see her at
was
all.
absolutely beautiful. Like you cannot
It
set
was
up
so
a shot
good.
so well.
No. Oh, it's the genius of Survivor. That's so
man.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was very good. And it was also just I mean, how do and I get like okay, I think clearly they edit confessionals in a way that line up with what's going to happen, right? But I mean, it was just the perfect storytelling of like it being Charity and Say, the two people that would eventually be gunning for each
Mhm.
other at tribal council,
Mhm.
right? And again, it's not like, oh, how did that happen? Like, yeah, they clearly pushed more confessionals leading that direction, so that this moment and also tribal council will be hyped up for that reason. But I mean, just absolutely poetic that uh, two times in this episode, Say won the race.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. You can't write it any better.
Nice. I couldn't. I don't know what else you got about this episode. I
See,
guess
this
you
is
mentioned the like strong
yeah.
people alliance. There's
Yeah.
surprisingly few pre-merge boots that are like physical threats. Usually we see a tribe that just decimates all their physical threats immediately, and I feel like we see that less here. And so I think they might have a shot if they really stick together.
And here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing, is I don't hate it. I feel like in previous seasons, I would be against this because I think naturally I'm just more of like, I gravitate more towards like the gamers as far as like entertainment goes.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like the people, like maybe I like these, what do they used to call them? Lions back in season 40.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I like
Lions
these
and
lions
hyenas.
more than previous lions.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but like I'm like I could go for a shakeup if we get all like the strategists out and just have these like macho people compete at the end. Like that could be a fun shakeup compared to other seasons in this new era.
Honestly, I think it's partially they're not like, with maybe the exception of David. That's kind of his big thing, is that he's physically strong, but he keeps saying like, no, I'm also smart. I think there's more depth to these people than just like, oh, they're good and athletic, which I feel like with a lot of people like the iconic Joe and Ozzy, that's really all they had going for them. You know what
Right.
I mean? And Ava, I mean, no, I'm not gonna say it. No, I was gonna say she also has autism. Like, man, that's two things. No, there's a lot to that. Like, and it's also not just like the jacked dudes. You know what I mean? Like, it's an assortment of people that I think makes it feel a little bit better.
Yes, because I think it is David, Joe, Ava, Kyle, and Shaheen. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds right.
So yeah, I mean pretty solid. Uh, and then it's just everyone else who's apparently just a strategist, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't hate this. I'm curious if it will work. But the thing is, like, I think all of these people, I think they are, well, the exception of one. We'll maybe get to that. I think they are all, like, loyal enough that they would follow through with it. You know what I mean? Can you guess who the
Yeah.
one is that I don't
Cedric?
trust? No, Cedric's not in on this one. Is he?
Oh, I thought you meant somebody who's not loyal at
No,
all.
no, no,
Just
no, no.
all willy nilly.
No, I was
Like,
gonna
that's
say,
money.
I think Kyle's the only one I could see
Oh
breaking
yeah,
off, but I think it's
'cause Kyle wants to
because
work with Camilla.
yes, and she was not included despite being on a tribe with Kyle, Joe, and Shaheen. You know, so I thought that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of interesting. Like, okay, so it's not just like we want to keep these people because we're on a tribe together. Like, she's just not doesn't share the same strengths that we do, so she's not in
Mm-hmm.
on this. And
Yeah,
Kyle still
she's
wants
too
to work with
smart.
her.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
absolutely.
Kyle.
I don't know why. I was like, I got nothing to say right here. That was a
Well,
tough moment for your boy.
do you?
Other than that, we didn't see like anything really, I feel like, solidify alliance wise that I can remember. Can you remember anything else?
No, that was really the main thing, which
And
is
I think
like
it's because they're just
super
looking for the
bizarre.
easy vote, like you said. That was a really good point. I think like there's like, let's just get this past us. Figure out next week. Don't want to promise anything.
And here's the bummer of it all is like next week we still won't see it because they're not going to have the chance to all work together.
Mm-hmm.
So next
Still
week
going to be
will
the tribal
also
lines
be
because those are the only people they've seen.
either
But
tribal lines
we had
or
a
like
legit
new
merge, so
lines.
that means something. That makes it a little bit better, I think.
A little bit, I suppose.
Because if like you end up on a
Yeah.
tribe and it's Shaheen, Joe, Camilla, and then like Mary and Say, I don't know if that's too
Uh-huh.
many people. Like you think that Kyle or Shaheen, Joe, and Camilla might stay together because they were all on the new Vula tribe. You know what I mean? So like
Mhm.
there could be value to it if the numbers deem it so.
Yeah, and I think that's especially why in this specific vote, you don't want to make any drastic waves because you don't know, like if you vote the wrong way or if you make someone just a little more suspicious of you, you could be relying on them because it's going to be a 6-person vote next week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's way too risky. And you are essentially just relying on the luck of the draw. Like that's all it is that
Yeah.
next week. You just have to like really hope because I don't know. Maybe for next week I'll do some research to see like how these votes go because I feel like they're not always that exciting either. Like it's usually at least the excitement comes from if there's like an advantage or something. But it's usually straightforward. Like here's where the numbers are. Like we don't really have an option. We kind of have to go for this person. And then the
Mhm.
excitement is if like one person decides to flip or not, or if there's an advantage that's played.
Yeah. Last season, I think, is a bad example, but it would be interesting to go back further and see.
What was the last season one? I don't even remember.
Rachel and all of the Blue Tribe. So then she
That's
got
right.
the
Yep. But I
Soul
think,
gave her the
but yes,
advantage.
that's
But that's an example of what you're looking for. But it'd be
that's exactly
interesting
what I'm
to.
looking for. I don't know if that tells the whole story, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's why I'm bringing it up because it's fresh on the mind without even remembering the exact details. But that is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. Subconsciously.
My
I want to bring
subconscious
attention to
is
the
so
fact
good.
Say has 10 votes for cast for her so far.
Yeah.
That's a lot going into a merge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Think we've ever
No.
seen
I
more?
mean, oh, to emerge. That's a great question.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
got to be up there. It's not an absurd amount where I would believe if there was someone with more, but I would also believe if that is the record because
Mm-hmm.
that's just so many votes. Does that take into account like the revotes,
I
which
think it
I
would.
guess
I
would
mean, there's
only be
4
in
just
one
from this
tribal?
last tribal. Oh, I can just
Mm-hmm.
look. 4,
Could just look.
5 from the Bianca vote. 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, I mean
I see
she
8.
is.
Oh, there are
I
5 here.
I'm growing to like really like her. Like I get she's annoying, and I wouldn't want to live on the beach with her, but I can't remember the last time we've seen a player quite like her. That is just so bold, so just like asking for people to vote for her. Like she
Mm-hmm.
knows what she's doing, and yet somehow it's working. And I'm just so fascinated to see like how long can she just keep doing this week after week?
Yeah. Yeah, she has a certain charm to her after, like, over time, for sure. Then she opens her mouth and it's like, why are you saying that out loud? Like, even whenever Jeff asks her a question, like, before challenges and stuff, I feel like she always says something where it's like, why are you, oh, what'd you do this week? She, like, screamed or something. And then she, like, apologized and then just screamed again. Like, apologized for like, sorry, that was really loud. Ah! And just, like, did something again. I was like, what? Why'd you apologize? If you're just gonna do, yeah, she's something.
That's
Let's just
a
leave it there.
that's the lesson I'm teaching my daughter right now. If you say sorry, it means you're not going to intentionally do it again. That's what. Say
How's she
congratulate.
doing learning that?
Not good. It's not great. uh,
It's a good lesson.
yeah, I mean, the other part would say is like once again a tribal where she just calls out what everyone is not wanting to say out loud, which
Hmm.
is sometimes helpful. I don't know if it's always going to be helpful for her. I can't even remember what the exact
Once things
situation was, but
solidify, like, that's just something you don't want on your alliance. You don't want to deal with
right.
that.
Yep. It's helpful if it benefits you that someone else is drawing attention to it, but
Yeah.
there's gonna come a point where it's not gonna benefit everyone.
Hmm.
The other, I mean, real quick, just tribal council. I mean, how are we still coming up with new analogies for Jeff to talk about? Today was the dance party, right, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you see someone doing the robot, and you're like, maybe I want to do the robot, and he's like, I I think I am inspired. I like really want to just make a compilation of. You could
Yeah.
strictly go with New Era. I mean, there has to be 24 different analogies at this point because it feels like a weekly occurrence at this point.
That's because people learn
There's
Jeff likes it and they're like, this is how I can make Jeff like me.
or this is how I just get camera time, right? Like
Yeah.
if Tribal Council
Honestly.
goes for 2-3 hours and we only see 10 minutes an episode, how can I make sure that I get on TV? Like, just make up an analogy. We should
Hmm.
at some point just like try to come up with a list of them. We could sell them to future contestants. Like, here's some original Survivor
Yeah,
analogies that.
there's the driving a car and getting in the car and all of that. That was a big one.
That was a big one. That was used
That's
most
an
of the
old
season.
one. voting blocks. That's not really an analogy, but voting blocks was huge for a while.
No, I think I want to do this. It would take a little bit of time, but I would just watch through every tribal council and
Mm-hmm.
see if that's yeah. So I'm gonna make a note. I'm gonna do it and I'm just gonna have a list. And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a list and I'm gonna play a game with you. I'm gonna read analogies. You have to tell me which ones were real or which ones I just made up on the spot.
That sounds like a fun game that I'm going to do poorly at, but let's do it.
I love it. All right. Anything else on this episode? Or does that mainly cover it?
Not really. I feel like we touched on most people at least mention their name.
That's true. I guess we didn't. There's some, but whatever.
But we didn't get much. So like
Yeah.
I feel like
What's
going
your thought on
person by
Chrissy,
person.
Tony? Why don't you rattle off Chrissy and Mitch? What's their position? Just kidding.
Those are the two that I feel like. But you mentioned Chrissy. I remember specifically because there's a Chrissy on this season of Australian Survivor that I just finished, and it took me like 15 seconds to be like, all right, not that Chrissy, not the Australian Chrissy, the one that is for actually somehow on the season that I forgot
Well,
about.
my only mention of her was how I couldn't tell it was her in the mud, so that hardly counts.
Oh yeah, well she still talks like all my friends' moms growing up. She's got that accent.
Great.
Mitch is still
He's
doing
there?
Mitch things.
Oh, actually, everyone knows about his advantage, so that's fun.
Oh yeah, I suppose that's not gonna stay hidden for long.
Well, they
Everybody
said
knows
it.
about Ava's too.
They said it at the reward. They're like, well, everyone knows that Mitch has, his advantage. So,
Mhm.
like,
Well, he told his whole tribe.
he did, which, again, we have made this point. I don't know why this keeps happening. If you tell your tribe, the whole cast is going to know about it. It's impossible.
Yeah, but it's tough with the journey because
Well,
that's
what
what he
I'm.
got. It was
That's
on
the
the journey.
problem. It's the producer's fault. It's Jeff Probst's fault for having this where they have to either make up this lie that they'll get caught or tell their whole tribe. Like, I don't know
Mhm.
why we're doing advantages like this, but again, we're just repeating the same conversations every season. But what do you want us to do? I don't know.
One season they should be like, hey, you can just have this advantage, but you have to lose your vote. Do you think people would do it? Like your vote is payment for this advantage.
Probably.
Be interesting.
People are goofy like
Because then you
that.
come back and you're like, hey man, I lost my vote, and then you really did. Except Cedric would vote you out. Oh, this is important.
Cedric
I
was
saw
sniffing
a
out.
post. I didn't put this all the way together like this, and maybe you mentioned it last week and I missed it. Cedric voted Justin out, right, Justin, for not telling him that he lost his vote, and then he voted out Bianca for telling him that she lost her vote.
Yeah, I did.
So
did
you
bring that
you
up
just
last
you
week.
just can't not have a vote with him.
I almost said that word for word. I can't tell if you're mocking me or not.
No, that doesn't sound like something you'd say.
That was almost word for word.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Do you even listen to this podcast?
No.
Well, neither do I.
When you're talking, I'm just thinking about what I'm gonna say because that's what really matters.
All right, I'm ending this.
God.
We're done.
That's just the worst kind of person.
For more episodes, visit notgameopersonal.com. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Really, we're on Instagram, Twitter, or as Tony says, X, TikTok, YouTube at NJPPod. That's at NJPPod. I'm Nathan. This is Tony, and we will see you next week.
That's X, the everything app. It's all happening on X. 15 people, 15 seasons, 2 pals, 1 survivor. Don't laugh at me.